Hello YouTube, this is Hunter Surge here with the second week of our, no, third week of our Elestrals Sunstrike Reveals. So we have a bunch of very scary wind cards to talk about, so let's get into it. Um, all right. Before this weekly thing came out, there were two creator reveals that happened. One of them is already on Collect, so we'll talk about that then. But this one was revealed by the Lumarus, I believe. Fittingly, it is Lumaru, champion of Ares. It is a 4/2. You can Nexus a Solar, and you can disenchant a Solar from a Stadium rune or your Artifact rune in order to special send this Lumaru to Ruminous from your hand or deck. So, of course, we need to see what the new Ruminous does. But I'll be honest, even with base Ruminous, this is still pretty solid. Even just ascending this into like a vanilla 7 is still solid enough. This is really good. There's a lot of pressure on the Ares 1-drops to be good, particularly because Armadon basically takes away from the actual 1-drop pool, because it's not something you're going to cast. It is a spell. It is a rune, in essence. Baseline. Let's say you have the Colosseum of Ares, the Battlegrounds on the board, right? You play out your Limaru, Colosseum effect, put an additional Solar under him if you want, but you can also Nexus from something else, and then you Nexus to the Colosseum from Lumaru or from your Ares or whatever. That results in your Lumaru being a 6/4. So even without the Ascension effect, it is still a solid body, which is important because it means when you're out of the Ruminuses, if it's not that good and you only really want one of it, it's still going to be providing something pretty solid. It's still going to be a 6. And then you can just ascend super easily. Like, this ascends so easily. Any artifact rune turns into an ascend, right? And your Ares provides them. We already know that we have an armament of Ares that is only 1 solar, so we don't have to overpay or anything for it, which is super good. And you can Nexus over to your Stadium so that the Stadium will survive after you disenchant from it. You can do the same if the artifact is on another Celestial you control. Like, it's just super good. I struggle to see a world where this card is not good. It is not played in the Ares deck, because it's a solid body on its own, gets to good enough numbers, and its Ascension condition is incredibly simple to achieve. All right, let us talk about the new cards. We got Tadpuff and Zephrog. Oh, I should pull up the Escape from Tartarus. All right, here he is. It is Tadpuff, Escape from Tartarus. This isn't going to be in Sunstrike, but it was revealed this week, so I want to talk about it. So it is an ETA set code. That just might be like an Elestrals test code, or it could be a set code for a future set. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see this until set 9. So it's Tadpuff, Escape from Tartarus. It's a 1/1 still. You can special cast it from your hand if you also expend a water, but if you do, this Tadpuff and its enchanting spirits can only be used in Ascension into Zephrog until the next turn. So lock it down to its intended Ascension line, and boom, we have our Tadpuff. This will probably be completely fine. It'll honestly, like, I don't see this being that good. It could be alright. It's very obvious that this is kind of only exists because of a specific design for the Tadpuff champ and Zephrog champ. That kind of needs there to be another Tadpuff that can special cast itself out. But this is this is a pretty alright card if we build a Zephrog deck, right? It's not the greatest thing in the world, but you know, maybe the frog will have his day. I mean, he's already had his day. He already topped this format, but you know. Okay, let's talk about that new Tadpuff and Frog. These are Champions of Aphrodite. They are in the 2 slots ahead of Starbit. So we're not getting Champions of Poseidon in that slot. So the Draking Lang is probably all Poseidon is getting this set. And I'm not sure they're enough, really. Champion of Aphrodite Tadpuff is a 1/1. You can return another Tadpuff on your field to your hand in order to special send this Tadpuff to Zephrog from your hand or deck. So this is why we really need another Tadpuff, because like the line is obviously supposed to be you cast out one of the Tadpuffs. You either special cast out base Tadpuff or you normal cast out this Tadpuff. Use Aphrodite, search for the other, cast it out, and then you bounce the other one to ascend into your Zephrog, right? And that makes a lot of sense. That's a pretty solid line. But at current, what can we do with this, right? We can go like Necklace of Aphrodite, a body we already have on the board, I guess. And then we can balance it. Right now with Tap Off Band, this is really bad. This is really, really bad. Like this is not playable at all in like even like a funny context. Like very, very bad. Then we have this new Zephyrog, which similarly is quite bad right now. You can discard a Tadpuff or a Zephyrog in order to target an opponent's card and put it on top of their deck. So we saw this effect text get leaked. Quite unfortunate that this is on a pretty bad card. When the Zephyrog is destroyed by battle or by an opponent's card effect, you can return a Tadpuff from your underworld to your hand. This just... I guess this allows you to like set up a loop where you go into another Zephyrog, which is pretty cool. But like the hand rip stuff that original Zephyrog does is just way better. And like if you want to make a Zephyrog that wasn't that, like you really should have given it like better stat line. Like 5-3 is nowhere near good enough. Like 4-3 is acceptable on original Zephyrog because the threat it represents is enormous. It is a direct attacker that hand rips every time it connects. Like, that is a really, really powerful card that justifies it having a really bad stat line because you get rewarded really heavily if you manage to protect it, right? This is not that. This is like a passable effect for a 2-drop that has completely garbage stats. And a floating effect that isn't that good. And like, it's like, well, Battlegon is allowed to be an 8-5 with a floating effect, right? Why is this like this? I don't know. Just really, really bad card. The effect like can be powerful because it does mean your opponent can't top deck out of situations, but it's still like it's not good. It's not good. Then we have a new Eddie, non-titled. Do want to note this real quick. Starbit is 27. Eddie is 28. It's cooked. It's cooked. There is no Starbit Supernova in this set, which is unfortunate. Original Supernova is still solid enough with Champ, Aphrodite, Starbit. But that also does mean that like Aphrodite isn't really getting much of this set. Like all it's really getting is the Starbit line, which is solid. I do think the Starbit line is solid. But yeah, that's all the deck is getting here, really. Is what it would appear. Then we have Mr. Eddie. So when this Eddie is destroyed in battle, you can change the position of each Elestral on the field. If at least 2 opponents' Elestrals change position this way, you may special cast a Kerberos from your hand or deck. This card is pretty neat. I'm really not sure how to feel about this card. I think it's a card that I'm really going to have to wait to see how it plays out to really assess it properly. Like, this card represents a cool, like, sideboard tool you can use against swarming decks. Because, like, if your opponent has 2 Elestrals on the board, you put them in a situation where, okay, the moment you run over this, I'm just going to get up into Kerberos. And Kerberos, big boy. And Kerberos is already, like, just on its own, really solid in Fish right now. So, like, with the correct support network, like, Kerberos is real good. Like, Kerberos is a non-targeting removal that heals you based on what you destroyed. It's a really solid card, and its main weakness is that it's a very cryoblastable card. This is a way better way to get up into Kerberos than what we've had in the past. This seems really solid. We also got a new Kerberos to go with it. I'm not a huge fan of this. It's an 8-4, so it doesn't have the cryoblastable problem, which is cool. But the effect is just way worse than what original Kerberos is able to do. You can expend a water in order to target any number of Elestrals and change their position, then enchant water from your underworld to this Kerberos for each Elestral that changes their position this way. It's some pseudo healing, but like I really don't like this card. I don't think it's good enough. Like I'd rather take the 2 defense weakness on original Kerberos and get the non-targeting removal that heals me. Like that's way more appealing. Crackle should be 31. So we have 1 slot here that is we've established this before, but this is either 1 stage water card, now that's confirmed, or a like because of this we know this can only be a 1 stage water or 1 stage thunder. So it's been narrowed down what that could be. Then we have Rhyceros. So this is 34 right after Imperial. We could tell because of Platypulse's position that this was going to be this was likely going to be a 2-stage line. So this is Rhyceros. This is a 2/5. You can return a Thunder from your field to your Spirit deck in order to special send from Aeolus to Rice Ridge from your hand or deck. This is going to depend on Rice Ridge. I'm a bit more apprehensive about this one. With Havoc and Lumaru, both of those, both the versions that we already had of those Ascensions were like, they had like solid stat lines for an Ascension. So like they're in a spot where like bare minimum, even if the new version is ass, it will still have like a decently bodied card to use this easy Ascension to go up to. Meanwhile, Rice Ridge is a 4/6 that negates attacks, which isn't like all that exciting, all that great. So this is a lot more dependent on what Rice Ridge ends up being. This is a really easy Ascension condition. If Rice Ridge is a good card, then the Rice Arrows will absolutely be good, because this Ascension condition is literally just have any Nexus Bank at all, even another Elestral, and you can get up into Rice Ridge, that's really nice, and it's a 5 defender. Like, it's not as good as like Lumaru and Havoc, because Lumaru and Havoc, even once you've spent the Ascensions, they have some mechanism of getting their stats up so that they can still be good attackers. Even in later stages of the game when you've gone through the Ascension. That isn't the case for Rice Arrows. If you're not going into Rice Ridge, it is like really bad. Doesn't do anything. So it's going to be really dependent for that reason too. It's going to be really dependent on Rice Ridge. Like if Rice Ridge is such a good card that we can justify running 2 of it, then that puts Rice Arrows in a really solid position. But we're just gonna have to see Rice Ridge. As established before, we've talked about before, but we've seen the normal art of Jolton, and it's number 38. So that means this is a 1 stage, and with Elichik here, 39 will also be a 1 stage. I would be unsurprised if one of them is Arclith, and they all have to be champs. Barring another Escape from Tartarus, but I don't think there's another in Thunder. Yeah, they would all have to be champs, and if the one after 38 is not Champ of Hera, then it would have to be for a post-Thunder Divine. So that could be... and it can't be Zeus, because Zeus comes before Hera. So it would be Aeolus, Hermes, Kion, Apollo, Artemis, and Ares would be the options. Champion Escape from Tartarus, Elichik, sorry. So this is very similar to when we first saw a prototype of it. It was a 3/1 back then with the same effect of when you cast it, you target a divine rune in your underworld and return it to your hand. It's a 4/1 now. Very appreciated. 3/1 was way too bad stat line for that effect, because we're at a point in the game where like, and even back then, like even if released immediately, like it's still not like good enough. Yeah, this is not fantastic. I think what this needed to be a solid card is it needed like some other effect that gave it some use case in earlier stages of the game, and without that, it's really hard to justify. But this is I could like, maybe I can see it in like some specific decks that really want to use their divine over and over. Like maybe Hermes would use this at some point. I could see that because it makes it easier to set up your double Hermes. And those board states are always like brutal. So I could see this in Hermes. I can't really see it in anything else though. So we have like slots for 1/2 stage in Thunder after the Phosphocell, which would be one of our creator reveals. We'll talk about that in a bit. Oh, let's get to wind. Holy shit, let's get to wind. So first up we have Sirikun. So this is searchable off of Nimbug. You can special cast it from your hand for 2 wind if your Aeolus is enchanted. If you do, it can only ascend to Champions of Aeolus or Insectoid Elestrals. And you may only cast 1 Sirikun this way each turn. This is a pretty solid card. It's searchable off Nimbug. So you can go like, if you just open, if you open like Aeolus Moth, you can go Aeolus, search Nimbug, search Sirikun, special cast out Sirikun, ascend into Stratomoth, which is pretty alright. It's like another 2 card line that gets you to Stratomoth in 1 turn. On top of the Tower of Wind stuff that we already have access to. We have the Windgen and Tornation. This was in Aeolus. This isn't in Apollo. I really wonder where Apollo is getting something in this set. But This Windgen is not particularly good. It's a 4/1. When it receives one or more wind, you play Bag of Winds, you can target an Elestral and foretell 3. That Elestral gets -1 attack and -2 defense for each wind card foretold this way until the next turn. This can be solid, but I'm not like it's still like a pretty RNG effect. I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't know. Maybe if we get to a point where we can be playing basically all wind, this gets solid. But also, like, this is a fair card, and we aren't going to be doing fair things in wind until the first ban this hits. Then we have Tornadian, Champion of Aeolus. Realistically, this card only matters for its stat line. It actually has a worse stat line than original Tornadian. 7/1, even more cryoblastable. Even with the stadium up, it will still be cryoblastable, which is very funny. You can expend a wind and a solar in order to target 3 cards on the field. You choose one at random. If the chosen card is this Tornadian, you may draw 3 cards. If it is not, return the chosen card to the hand. So this is a solid enough effect, but I really don't like it as much as original Tornadian, because like original Tornadian, you were able to finagle in such a way where like, okay, I know I'm getting like something in this category of card. Unless it didn't really have that much RNG to it. Both these effects are pretty solid, but like, I think there's a lot of scenarios where like the bounce effect is like really bad for the cost. So I'm not a huge fan of it. However, the simple reality is that it has a good enough stat line, and like Windgen is such a good good ascension effect, has such a good ascension effect that like just having this solid stat line is enough for it to be playable. Like I'm already going +1 off the ascension, and if this has an effect I don't care about, then that means I can just freely put a frost on it so it can't be cryoblasted, or put a water on it so it can't get tsunamied, which I'm completely fine with. So yeah, we will circle back to this card as well, because this is an important card with the nonsense. We got the Rhinosect for the Champion of Hermes stuff. It is always treated as a wind Elestral. When this Rhinosect is sent, it is a 7/5. When it's sent from your Elestral row or deck to the underworld, you can cast it with Double Frost as an artifact rune, with the effect the empowered Elestral gets +4 attack. This is really bad. This is a really, really bad card. It forces you to spec into a bunch into Frost in Hermes, and like it just doesn't. I don't think this really adds anything to the deck. Yeah, this is. I just don't see any way for this to be good. I just don't see it. I just can't see it. Okay. What else do we have here? We have Pulveror. Pulveror's insane. So Havocup would have been good with just base Pulveror, honestly. That would have been perfectly playable. But then they printed Pulveror Champion of Dionysus, and it's crazy. So it's an 8/4, so the stat line is even better. 8 is really big. And then when this Pulveror deals damage, you can target a rune in your underworld with an effect, name, or title that includes Dionysus and return it to your rune row face down. This is insane. This is such a good effect. Like, you mean I get to, like, recursion in general in Elestrals is really rare and typically expensive. But this is just, like, something it just does automatically. Like, if your Havocup gets to go off, you are probably getting this effect off on that turn, which is really strong. You can, like, reset another Dionysus if you've already spent yours. You can set a Madness to ensure you have back row for protection next turn. You can set the Nectar of the Gods Dionysus' Chalice, so that on your next turn you get to draw 3. That's crazy. You can reset the Poison Nectar Dionysus Chalice as well, to create like an Earth Burn strategy. Like even with the targets we have just right now, this card is nuts. This is so good, and Havocup was already a good card. Yeah, this is just crazy. This is just insane. A really, really good card. Won't be good for the first until the first ban list of Sunstrike happens, but I'm excited for it after that. I'm really excited for it after that. Then we got this official reveal of Drakid, and then the new Draking, Champion of Poseidon. It's a 7/4, just like the old one. Lunar Water, just like the old one. When you cast a Champion of Poseidon or Nexus with Poseidon's effect, you can suppress this Draking until the next turn in order to Nexus 1 from an opponent's card to this Draking. Okay, so this effect is powerful. This effect is very obviously powerful. like getting a 24 spirit while also likely removing something on your opponent's board is really strong. That's really strong. And also, I do want to note that this self-suppression thing is a really cool way of doing a once per turn on a card. Like, we've just done once per turns before, but this is a cool way of doing it. I think this is a clever way of doing it. I like it. This effect is really strong, and it's strong in a way that's kind of annoying. I don't really like how this interacts, especially because it's like, because next thing never targets, it is non-targeting as well. So it's a bit hard to play around unless you're just stopping the effect from going off. So I'm not a huge fan of the design from that side. I also don't think it's super easy to get into. So it might not even be good. But like, if you can get into it, this is a very strong removal effect for sure. Then we have a new Fire Invoke. So this is Fumarole. So this is target a Fire Dragon Elestral in your underworld, or expend fire in order to target any Fire Elestral in your underworld. Return that target to your hand. This is really good for Fire Discard, of course. This allows you to potentially one turn into Sulfury, because you can go Comagma, discard Brimscale, send it to Brimscale, cast Fumarole, Brimscale effect, dump the Sulfury, then Fumarole, add back Sulfury, ascend it to Sulfury, which is pretty good. That's pretty strong. And this is just a really good recursion tool in general. For a combo deck like Fire Discard, something like this is really, really appreciated, because it makes it easier for it to assemble its combos again, turn after turn after turn, to continue profiting. It doesn't solve the hand size issue that Fire Discard is going to naturally have by the nature of the type of deck it is. I would really like an Invoke for Fire Discard that's like, pay 1 for it and you discard a card to draw 2. I think that would be a fine card to have exist in the game. Maybe it wouldn't be, but I think it would probably be fine. And that sort of card would really, really help out the deck. But this is also a really good card. All right, here it is. It's Bag of Winds. Bag of Winds back in the bag. This card is busted. So Bag of Winds back in the bag is a 1-wind invoke. Target an enchanted wind Elestral on your field and return it to your hand. If you do, special cast a Champion of Aeolus from your hand. There is no enchantment cost restriction on that special cast, so you can just special cast out a 3-drop, by which we of course mean Stratomoth. And of course, this is searchable by Nimbug. So this is a line. The turn 1 moth, the 1-turn moths was a line that the deck already had access to via Tower of Winds, and that was scary enough. However, now it has 6 copies of that Invoke rune. 3 of which are searchable by Nimbug, and not just by the Findust lines, which are a bit more specific. And there's something I want to note here. This card plays through Gaze. Tower of Winds loses the Gaze. This does not. There is nothing that Gaze stops in what Bag of Winds back in the bag is doing. That's crazy. Like, what this combo is already able to do is kind of nuts, because like, with the addition of this Bag of Winds, you're able to, like, there's so many 2-card combinations that result in you getting to a 1-turn moth, right? There's so many, because like, you have like Aeolus can now get you to the thing that allows the special ascension if you already have the moth in hand, etc., etc. Like, so that means moth plus Aeolus does it, though it kind of already did, but it costs your normal cast, which is stoppable by Gorgon's Gaze. Exalter gets you there, of course. There's so much. There's so much. It has so much redundancy now, and like, so many of the pieces are searchable. And here's the really, really screwed up part. If you have an extra, like, after you assemble the combo, if you have another copy in your hand of Aeolus, Aeolus, Bag of Winds, Moth, or Tower of Winds, any of those 4 cards, then you get to do it again. You get to immediately go Moth, special cast out Exaltair, search for Aeolus. Cool, I'm able to get the second piece I need and do the combo again. Extra Bag of Winds can also be used to play through PTA and trigger the Shroudmoth Nexus effect again. Of course, you have the stuff with Nimbug, which is like, okay, I do my 2-card Stratomoth line of like Exaltair, have one of the pieces in hand, like have Moth in hand or have Bag of Winds in hand already. Aeolus, search Nimbug, search the piece you're missing. Go up into Moth, Nexus to Moth, special cast out. So you special cast out any on receive, right? You special cast out a P-Gust, pop a back row, and then you go Nimbug. Nexus to the P-Gust, pop another back row. You can do this before going into Moth as well. You can go cast out P-Gust if you already have the 2 pieces in hand. I don't need to normal cast out the Exaltair. You can go normal cast P-Gust, pop a back row. Aeolus, search Nimbug, search the other piece you're missing. Nimbug, Nexus to P-Gust. P-Gust will pop another back row. And then you go up. And then if you need to heal up, you can also go, okay, I'm going to cast out Nemasail, and then I will Nexus to Nemasail. Oh, look, I healed 4. Or you can go special cast out Original Winjin. On receive effect, 4 tile 3. I probably don't hit on that one. Put him back. Then Nimbug effect, Nexus to Winjin. Oh, look, I know the top 3 cards now, so I get to take any card from those top 3, put it into my hand, and go up into the new Tornation for a 7-1 alongside my Stratomoth. That is just a 2-card combo. And then the moment your board survives a single turn, you can spam out heals with Nemasail on the next turn, now that you have your normal cast available, your normal action available, because you can just go, okay, if you just have Nemasail in hand, you can just go normal cast out Nemasail, Nexus to it. So normal cast out Nemasail, get my heal 2, Nexus from Stratomoth to Nemasail, or whatever, wherever that extra spirit is. Heal another 2, and then with the Nexus effect, cast out another Nemasail. Or cast out original Exaltair, and Exaltair effect, Nexus, get another heal off Nemasail. Or get another Nemasail and heal again. And like the moment your opponent starts doing that, they will be completely out of your range if the board survives for a single turn. The P-Gust ensure that your back row will never be safe. The Exaltairs ensure that you will always be taking burn damage. The Champ Exaltair ensures that they will be getting out more of these, which will make the board harder and harder to get rid of. It's insane. It's absolutely absurd. It is the most absurd deck we've ever seen. I just can't stop thinking about the fact that Bag of Winds back in the bag allows it to play through Gorgon's Gaze. It allows it to play through Gorgon's Gaze. There's a 3-card open you can get that plays through Box as well. Like, if you get a specific 3-card open, there is literally none of the like good back rows that we use can stop the Stratomoth from getting on the board. It'll get on the board. Like, it's crazy. It's insane. And then that's not even talk about like when it just goes first and just can't be interrupted at all. Even if they like even with the hypothetical joke of they're hiding Ash Blossom, is like, well, there's a 3-card open that plays through Ash Blossom. Have fun, idiots. It's insane. There's no question in my mind that this is going to be, until we get the first ban list for those first 2 premieres, there's just nothing that's going to be, I can't see anything standing up to this deck. It is so ridiculous what this deck is able to do. Absolutely absurd deck. Just ridiculous. The redundancy on this combo is absurd. The stuff it's able to play through is absurd. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane, and I hope the first ban list bans this shit into the sun. Also, do not say to me, oh, we haven't seen the whole set. Yeah, if there's something in the set that matches this deck in power, that just means we have two insane problematic decks that need to get banned into the sun. That's all that means. That's all that means. Even if there's some cool new counter rune that interacts well with it, that doesn't matter for when it's going first, and it's just gonna pop off and get this combo uninterrupted. I don't want more of the cards in the set to have to be banned. I would rather it be a situation where this is a clear outlier. It dominates the first two Sunstrike tournaments, then it gets banned to the sun, and the rest of the cards are cool. Because thus far, all of the other Sunstrike cards are like fine. They're completely reasonable cards. Like Luma Veil is the only card I really have an issue with. Otherwise, I don't really like the non-games it can create. But like it's nothing that's like, it's not that sort of explosive, you know? If you set it up correctly, it just wins you the game on the spot, which is not a design space I'm a super huge fan of, but it's not this. It's not this Aeolus deck. I really dislike what this Aeolus deck is doing. But it is, like, it was known going into this set that this set went to print, was finalized before the design philosophy shift that came with the newest ban list occurred, and therefore it was expected that something in this set was going to be crazy. Though I do want to be very blunt on this. I think even if Livestream was still full power, this Aeolus deck would still be head and shoulders the best deck. I do not think any of the full power Livestream decks hold a candle to this deck. This deck is so much faster and so much more consistent than those decks. It is insane. All right. Is there anything else to talk about? Right. K-Cray's card. So K-Cray revealed today's Zip Awesome. So this is number 44. As we discussed already, number 44 is right here. It's going to be the final 2-drop line. So Zip Awesome is a 3/1 that gets +1 attack for each face down rune on the field. When this Zip Awesome destroys an Elestral in battle, you can special send it to Electropossum from your hinder deck. So once again, judging this without Electropossum, so like we're missing some context, but I'll assume that it just has like baseline, it just has like a solid enough stat line, right? That's all that really needs to be. So this is like kind of a Nobby type card. It's like Nobby, Havocub, Hydrake, that category of card. That's like, okay, I'm going to be immediate combat threat, and if you do not have an answer for me, I'm going to ascend into something bigger for free and do some damage. I'm either going to take out 2 things on your board, or I'm going to take out the 1 thing on your board and then hit face for 2, right? I think this card is fundamentally worse than basically every other card of its type. And the main reason for that is that to get up to the attack values it needs to be threatening, there needs to be enough face down runes on the field. And what really makes those cards strong is that they're so conditionless. And that allows them, like, they just self-enable, or like just need 1 card extra to enable it in the case of Havocub. And that means that in simplified game states, they're able to come down and put your opponent in a really bad spot. But in a simplified game state, unless you just have a bunch of back row and your opponent is burned through theirs, it's not going to be big enough to get over your opponent's stuff. Now, I do have 2 thoughts on this. 1, this would have been a sick Moonrise card, man. If this card came out in Moonrise when we were still all on Zeus and we were playing that speed of game before Firestorm came along and ruined everything, this card would be sick. Zeus just always enables it. Even in a simplified board state, if you have Zeus, it's online. And it's Thunder, so it's in the elements that you're already running for Zeus and Astrabbit, and the one of Elichik. So it's great. It would be great in that environment. But we are not in an everyone runs Zeus environment anymore. However, there is a Zeus deck. And the thing about that Zeus deck is that deck is also basically all Hydrakes. Full Tempest makes every champion of Zeus into a Hydrake, and thus is constantly exuding combat pressure on your opponent. And that means the Possum can pretty cleanly slot into that deck and be another combat pressure card, which is pretty powerful. So yeah, I do think this probably has a spot in Zeus, but I don't think it's good enough anywhere else because it's so bad to simplified board states, and these kinds of cards tend to be stopped by literally any counter rune. So the fact that this needs like 2 or 3 counter runes to be set to turn on is a really big deterrent for it as a standalone card. But paired with Zeus, I think it's probably really solid. We'll have to see what Electro Possum does. But I have some pretty high hopes for this in Zeus. I think this could be really good there. All right, I'm putting up the video in like an hour, but a card just got revealed, so I want to quickly record a segment to talk about it before the video goes up. We got the creator reveal from Top Elestrals. This is Ouroboros. So this is another one of the Clash creator cards. This one by Neil before me. So this is a Lunar 2/2. It's a holo rare. And when you cast this card, you can target an opponent's face-up card, return its enchanting spirits to the spirit deck, and that card to the hand. So this is an effect that we had that had gotten the text had been shown to us before, but we didn't know the card. This is a really powerful card to put this on. I didn't expect that this was going to be a 1 cost. I'm also surprised this isn't a Hera card. Hera's where I really expected this effect to show up. But Luna really appreciates having more good low-cost guys. It's pretty lacking in that department. It has been for a long time. This is a really good effect, really powerful, especially against higher-end stuff. But also, this is a really good rise target as well, because you just get to do it again. So that's extremely strong. And also, if it's destroyed by an effect, you can put it on top of your deck. So you can draw it again and use it again. Just an incredible card. I like this card a lot. It's probably fine. It targets. It gives your opponent the spirits back, so it's fine. This is a really nice card. I like this card a lot. This is quite nice. Yeah, like the use cases that would be really annoying with this card are made a lot more manageable by the fact that it gives you back your spirits. So yeah, I like this card quite a bit. It's good stuff, and of course you can still stop it with Gaze. Another point to the we should not be hitting Gaze camp, because yeah. Yeah, this is good stuff. This is a really nice card. I also want to talk about its set code, because its set code actually gives us a ton of information. So it is number 84. So let's go over to Sunstrike, and let's go down to the Lunar section. 84 is all the way at the end here. On the same row as Numavale, right at the end. So this is pretty close to the max amount of Lunar Elestrals I could have seen them getting. With the reveal of Povoror, I think 85 is very likely to be an Earth rune. So I don't think we're getting more Lunar Elestrals. I think they want to print at least one Dionysus card with Dionysus in its name, effect text, or title for Povoror to get within the set for the purposes of like pre-release and stuff like that, right? It just makes sense to do. So I think 85 will be a Dionysus rune. I don't think we're getting any more Lunar Elestrals. These two in between, likely 1-stage guys. We'll have to see on Lumavale. Lumavale could still get a 2-stage line. There's always that possibility. We'll just have to see what happens there. And there's one other thing about that I want to touch on. So a while ago, Dan said that Lunar is getting 13 cards and gave us a breakdown of what those cards are. But we know that Lunar is getting 13 cards. Now, there's always the possibility of one of those cards being being like in another element, its cross element, yada yada, which would screw up this math. But assuming that isn't the case, we haven't seen any indications of that happening yet. Like, it doesn't look like we're getting a new Joblin line in this set or anything like that. So we're going to assume that isn't the case. Dugabus, as we've talked about before, is extremely likely to be the first full art because it's an Earth Celestial. And Vesuvituga is not getting a normal full art. This is the set that stops, and that we're only getting the box shopper full arts for those guys. So Vesuvituga will not have a full art here. So it makes Dugabiss's full art very likely to be the first one, which means we can pretty safely assume that everything up to 105 will be functional cards, right? So with 13 lunar cards and 11 lunar Elestrals, right? Because we start lunar at Havocup, and it goes to 84 with Ouroboros. That's 11 Elestrals. That means 104 and 105 will both be lunar runes. No guesses on what those are, but what matters there is that means 102 and 103 will be solar runes, and they're both post-Colosseum. Now, I assumed that at least one of these was going to be solar. It's very likely because Ares still needs to get its signature rune. And there's always the possibility of another Colosseum after the Battlegrounds. Could also be before in Slot 100, but could also be after. But that also leaves the room for a solar rune that isn't connected to Ares. Like something for Apollo, maybe a new solar charge for the Larva Cell stuff. That would be cool. So yeah, that is the set code information that we have gotten from Ouroboros. That's going to be it for me. This is Hunter Surge signing off.